So thank you for joining us today for this virtual community meeting for the Apollo project located on 32 and 60 Stockton Avenue. File numbers H21-048 and T21-043. My name is John Tu. I'm a supervising planner and the planning project manager for this project representing the city's planning division. Before we get started, I wanted to go over some procedures for this meeting. You'll all be placed on mute until we open the meeting for public comment. This meeting is being recorded. This is a community meeting, not a public hearing. Therefore, no approval or denial of the project will take place today. We have the applicant team here. I'll let them introduce themselves when they're doing the presentation. I believe that a representative from District 6 will attend the meeting. When they get here, I'll try to point them out. And lastly, we do have several members of the city representing respective departments. Next slide, please. Next, I'll go over the agenda for tonight. First, I'll briefly go over the project description as well as a general overview of the city of San Jose's planning permit process. The applicant will then provide a presentation on the project. After the applicant's presentation, we're going to open the meeting to questions and comments. Next slide, please. First, to provide everyone with some context, the project is located on the two parcels on the northeast corner along Stockton Avenue and West San Carlos. The site's approximately 1.12 gross acres. The site's located in the Diridon Station area plan and the downtown boundary and has a general plan land use designation of downtown and is located in the downtown zoning district. The site contains a car wash and some industrial buildings and is near the Diridon Station. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand this over to Court Hitchens from the planning department to go over the environmental review for the project.
Thanks, John. Good evening, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Court Hitchens. I am the environmental project manager for this project. I just wanted to quickly go over the environmental review process for this project that we're talking about tonight. So this project will be reviewed for environmental impacts under CEQA. The California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, requires public agencies to disclose and evaluate the significant environmental impacts of proposed projects and to adopt all feasible mitigation measures to reduce or eliminate those impacts. A program level Downtown Strategy 2040 Integrated Final Environmental Impact Report, or EIR, was updated in 2018 and includes this project site in its scope. Since there is an existing EIR for this site, the environmental document for the project will either be an addendum to the Downtown Strategy 2040 EIR, if no new significant impacts will occur, or a supplement to the Downtown Strategy 2040 EIR, if significant impacts from the project were not analyzed in the Downtown Strategy 2040 final EIR. And just lastly, the environmental document for this project will be publicly circulated once it is complete, and it will be available to public agencies, interested organizations, and individuals for review and comments prior to the city considering adoption of that environmental document. That's all I have. I'll pass it back to John or the applicant. Thanks.
Thanks, Court. So the applicant has applied for a site development permit to allow the demolition of approximately 16,000 square feet of commercial industrial space, construction of an 18-story mixed-use building consisting of up to 472 residential units and approximately 7,600 square feet of ground floor retail. The project includes an alternate parking arrangement with surface and staggered parkings. In addition, a vesting tentative map to merge two lots into one. Next slide, please. In terms of review, this project was originally submitted in October 2021 and is currently on the third round of review. The project is currently under review with the city that includes review from planning, public works, Department of Transportation, fire, building, airport, and housing. Additionally, the project is reviewed for conformance with the California Environmental Quality Act, known as CEQA, in addition as well taking comments from various different agencies. Upon completion of the review of the planning application, the project will be heard at a director's hearing. Similar to the community meeting, if you receive a notice for this meeting, the project will be noticed to the same group in advance of the hearing date. If you'd like to be added to the noticing group, please contact me and provide me your contact information to be added to the list. Comments are accepted during any portion of the review process, not just this community meeting. I will put my contact information on the last slide before we close out the meeting, and if you had any additional comments or questions. So I'd like to hand it over to the applicant team for them to do the introduction as well as their presentation.
Thank you, John. Am I on? Yeah, thanks, Asha. Great. Welcome. Thank you, planning staff, for arranging this community meeting. I want to welcome all those who are attending. I'm Paul Ring, partner at Urban Catalyst, and thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight to learn about the project, share your thoughts. We're a local development company with a team that has decades of experience working and investing specifically in downtown San Jose neighborhoods that we're passionate about. And we're particularly excited about this project given its location at Diridon Station. Urban Catalyst is working with Bang Do and ADIS Architects on this project. Our Urban Catalyst team's led by Matt Bernardis and Tom Holt. And I'll turn it over to Matt.
Hello, thank you all for attending our community meeting. Here you can see a rendering of our Apollo multifamily project. It's a mixed-use building consisting of 472 residential units above roughly 8,000 square feet of retail space. This project is located at 32 and 60 Stockton, where there's currently a hand car wash lot and an auto body shop. The proposed building is a 20-story structure with 16 residential floors, over 3 floors of podium level parking, and 1 level of below-grade parking. This complex will have various amenities, including a pool, a fitness center, a yoga center, and several lounges. This development is targeted to attract users of public transportation, namely Caltrain riders, seeing as we're only minutes walking distance from Diridon Station. This ground level retail will be targeted for a sofa style market with various local food members who will cater to the SAP Center attendees, Caltrain riders, and San Jose residents at large. We're very excited to activate the Santa Clara corridor and look forward to being the gateway to downtown West and San Jose as a whole. So slide 2 here, you can see it's just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. We'll be discussing the location of the project, look to give you some site context, discuss the building's public interface, and then go over some specifics on the overall design. So here you can see this is an aerial view of our project of the site. This project is located at 32 and 60 Stockton, as I mentioned. You can see we're right adjacent to the Caltrain rail tracks, next to the Vespaio multifamily building, and across the street from the Whole Foods. So here are some elevations of the existing use of our lots. You can see the hand car wash station there in the middle, and then on the left-hand side, you can see the auto body shop. So here we have, we're sitting amongst several current and future transit hubs. Obviously, we have the Diridon Station just steps away, and then we have the new VTA station and the new BART station just a couple blocks down the street. Our vision is to provide a welcoming retail environment for train commuters and sports fans, and to encourage public transportation for our residents as well. So this slide showcases the neighborhood's designation under San Jose's general plan as an urban village, which we fit into. You can see we have Google's Downtown West development and the Whole Foods highlighted here. And here we have Google's integrated Downtown West plan. And then on this next slide, you'll see how we fit in right on the outskirts there. So here's our Apollo project in red.
Hey everyone, this is Afsha Ali, Senior Project Manager at ADIS Architects. This is our close-up into the ground floor plan. As Matt mentioned, we are located at the intersection of West Santa Clara and Stockton Avenue. The rail corridor is on this side. The main vehicular access to the building is from Stockton Avenue. As you can see, we have portion of parking located in the ground floor. There is basement level with utilities and surface parking, and we have 2 additional floors with the parking. So that's equals to like about 0.76 ratio, out of which we have 10% reserved for electric and clean energy vehicles. Large portion of the facade is being You can see dedicated for the retail and the residential lobby. I'm gonna go to the next slide here. So this is kind of up close to that. And as Matt mentioned, we envisioned this place to be a large food court with similar concept as San Pedro and Sofa Market in downtown San Jose. The owner, Tengdo, has experience in designing and operating the Sofa Market, which is located at the First Street next to the California Theater. It's a big success and has become a focal point for a lot of businesses and neighborhood around. You can see a few inspirational images, how we see the interiors of this space. And we strongly encourage promoting local food vendors and see a variety of food choices included in our food court. We see the space as an extension of Whole Food Market across the street, providing more food choices to the neighborhood. And at the same time, we see building community, mingling with the neighborhood and vice versa here. So both retail and residential lobby they're connected to the sidewalk via this large outdoor plaza. Here's a look of that plaza, and you can see the retail facade at the back. This plaza is a public realm within the site boundary, so it provides a variety of seating and gathering options. We're creating various architectural patterns and finishes, so it attracts the neighborhood and people, foot traffic, especially because of its proximity from SAB and Diridon Station. It provides a welcoming space that will be used to have like casual meetings, family gatherings, morning coffee, afternoon snacks, many more ways to enjoy the day. So we see this space becoming a hotspot for our Sharks fan before and after the game nights. Matt, do you want to add like other benefits that this project will add to the neighborhood?
Yeah. So, we see several community benefits, namely the retail, as Afsha mentioned. We think that's going to be a great addition to the community, to the neighborhood, and as well as the commuters and the Sharks fans. But beyond that, we're also looking at a raised bike lane that you can see here in green in the rendering. We're also going to be providing about 40 bike stalls on the public right-of-way. One of the major benefits, outside of the actual development, are the fees that we're contributing to the city. So, namely the parks fees. We're looking at just over $7 million in parks fees, and one of our goals is to work with the city to ensure that they're deployed to local parks in the Diridon area. Beyond that, we're looking at roughly $3.5 million in affordable housing fees, $2.3 million in development taxes, about $1.5 million in Diridon Station infrastructure fees, and $1.5 million in school fees.
Thank you, Matt. This shot is looking towards the Stockton Avenue. Something to note here is the site has about 10 feet of grade difference from the Stockton to the furthest point at West Santa Clara. So the average grade difference here from the stairs we see is about 5 feet. And we are using this opportunity to create a large, outdoor space that you see. It's all accessible, one level, and it provides a secure place for people to hang out. Here's another shot. You can see Falls Ford right across the street, and the wall where we are proposing all green wall with landscape, which will contribute a nice pleasant walk by the street, help minimize the heat on hot days. And again, you can see the bike lane shown here. Leasing office, it's has direct access, the same grade as the Stockton Avenue, and it provides straight access, especially the foot traffic and for the bikers. We are providing a long-term bike storage conveniently located at the ground floor. Plus, as Matt mentioned, there are short-term parking at various locations by the sidewalk and outdoor plaza. You may have noticed already that the building materials are focused on natural finishes and patterns. We have integrated like wood, plants, trees, stone tiles, more earthy finishes as they provide connection with nature, especially in such urban surrounding. Moving on to the podium level, which is our fourth level, it has a combination of amenity spaces and residential units. Some of these spaces are like yoga retreat, fitness center, lounge, an open swimming pool area. Some of the renderings included here shows how the space we envision to be. Here's a shot looking from the podium to the valley. The podium is also like outdoor space being provided with variety of seating options and hangout places. You have quality time with your friends and family members. These are typical floor plans for residential levels. There are, we can go in detail if there are any specific questions. But in general, you can see there are some open common amenity spaces provided at higher levels as well. And here at the second to top level, we have large amenity spaces, common spaces provided. People can see here in this rendering. So these are those balcony open spaces, which kind of helps us breaking the large facade. And then at the top, these are the sky lounges. Again, provides beautiful views of San Jose. Like I mentioned earlier, we are focused on bringing earthy materials as wood, stone. You can see here green wall, have some stone tiles used, and especially where people are gathering and close to the amenity spaces. As we move higher for residential units, we introduce more transparency with high performance bird-friendly glazing to capture daylight and views, which is so essential for their wellness. We propose the building envelope designed in compliance with the energy efficiency requirements. The building is targeted for LEED Gold rating minimum. We support City of San Jose REACH code and clean energy requirements. Our design promotes wellness, not just for the occupants, but also for the neighborhood. As Matt mentioned, we are contributing a large amount, about $16 million in various fees like park, affordable housing, etc. We will work with the city to utilize these funds, like park fees and all, to use within half a mile of our project so that it benefits our close community members. Here's another shot. Here you can see the SAP center at the back. So we're looking at the West Santa Clara. I can see that some buildings at the downtown. This view is from the SAP center looking at our building. So it's that elevation, but of course there will be some buildings, future buildings coming in under Downtown West development. So you won't be able to see the entire elevations from this side. This is our evening shot. We have used light and shade throughout the building. We're focusing, providing transparency at the ground floor, especially to have that connection, the foot traffic and the large food court inside. So with this, we conclude our presentation. I'll pass it to Matt, and we are happy to take the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing. We really focused on maximizing the public interface for this project. We really aim to be a fixture in the community, with our large outdoor patio, the residential portion that we're earmarking for a sofa style market, And we greatly appreciate the feedback we've received so far from the community organizations and the neighbors. We're really looking forward to hearing more questions and comments from you guys. So I think that concludes our presentation, and we really appreciate you guys listening.
Thanks, Matt and team. So now I'm going to open it up for a public discussion. I don't see anybody on the phone, but if anybody does plan on calling, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself. So if you please would like to speak, I'm going to have Alex, who's helped moderating the speakers list. So feel free to raise your hand and we'll get started.
All right, let's start it off. First up, I have Nick Rackovich. Sorry if I'm butchering it. You're up. You should be unmuted.
Thank you, Nick Rackovich, no problem. I'd just like to say I like the project. I think this is an appropriate place to put this volume of density and this many units. Access to public transit is paramount for the future. And these types of projects are what going to make the streets activated and public transit viable going forward. So this is a key project. And I would ask my community members to note that Silicon Valley is growing up. And in order to retain talent in this area, which is what makes the golden goose of the tech industry work, it's incumbent upon us locals to provide clean, affordable, good places to live, which that's exactly what this is. So this needs to be approved. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Next up is Ricardo Carrasco. Ricardo, you are unmuted. Ricardo, are you there? Ricardo, if you're having trouble, I can come back to you.
No,
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, hi, my name is Ricardo Carrasco. I'm a resident of San Jose. Frankly, I'm not sure this project should get started. My union has met with Urban Catalyst, and they refuse to commit to hire local workers and pay family supportive wages for this area on this project. If they cannot figure out how to build an 18-story tower without bringing in several hundreds of workers from outside our community to build it, then don't build it. Their business model also means there will be fewer apprentices enrolled in several state of California approved apprenticeship programs on the job. Every developer who does this means fewer of our youth and returning veterans get a chance on a middle-class career. Also, so I'm asking Urban Catalyst if they will change their mind and work with my union to make sure construction workers on this project get paid area of standard wages. Excuse me, sorry. And that they will have a local construction workforce. Thank you for your opportunity for me to talk.
Thank you, Ricardo. Next up, we have Edward Sound. Edward, you are unmuted.
Thank you, Alec. Edward Sound, President and Director for Planning and Land Use for the Shasta-Henshaw Park Neighborhood Association. In addition to the written comments I'll provide after this meeting, I wanted to restate here some of the comments I made when I met with the applicant and their design team late last week. The project site is within the expanded downtown and is immediately adjacent to SAP Center, Deardown Station, and the Alameda Urban Village. The proposed density and height are appropriate for the site, and the design quite correctly sets the majority of the mass back from the corner. Along the same side of Stockton, there's already a 7-story apartment building, a new 9-story hotel, and 16-story commercial building are proposed on the downtown side of the block as well. Having Whole Foods, 2 apartment buildings, a hotel, and an office building in a single block, all within a 2-minute walk of Diridon Station, is exactly the kind of mixed-use walkable development we should be supporting at this site. Residents of Espaillo and the proposed Apollo could shop, commute, work, attend events at SAP Center, and entertain guests without the use of a car. This corner has been drastically underutilized for years. It should be activated in a way that provides amenities for both residents and other locals. Enhanced walkability and engagement with visitors to SAP Center and residents walking down the Alameda is what the site needs most. I emphasize to the applicant that they should do everything in their power to ensure that their park fees are used in as close a proximity to the project as possible. The 2 nearby proposed pocket parks at Hanchett and the Alameda and Race and Tillman, each of which are less than half a mile from this site, would directly benefit from a timely use of these funds. It's up to the council office and PRNS to make sure that this gets done instead of parking the funds for later use on a large scale park miles away. If a project gets the massing and amenities of the lowest floors right, which this project does quite effectively with the mass being set back from the corner, the proposed food court, public bike racks, and bike lane, the height of the project will be quickly forgotten by those walking by. The project as presented is a very appropriate use of the parcel.
Thank you, Edward. Up next, we have Lara Winter. Lara, you should be unmuted. Oh, excuse me, I unmuted Kevin. Hold on. Sorry, Kevin. Let's try this one more time. There we go. Laura, now you're up.
Thank you very much, Alec. My name is Lara Winter, and I'm a 33-year resident of the neighborhood, almost immediately adjacent to the proposed development. I also had the opportunity to meet with the developer via Zoom a few days ago, and they shared this with me, and I expressed my my delight to them that very rarely in my decades of working with developers through the Shasta-Hanchett Park Neighborhood Association, have we seen a development that clearly hits it out of the ballpark on the first try. This is absolutely an appropriate development for the site. It is going to be one of the gateways to the Diridon Station area. It activates the sidewalk, it draws people in, it has very human scale elements at the ground floor level, which is something a lot of high rises really miss the mark on. This will be a landmark building, and I'm very excited for this building to, this proposed development to receive approval and hopefully be under construction soon. This will be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Now, Kevin, now you're up.
Hi, thanks, Alec. This is Kevin Mole. I'm a 4th generation San Jose resident. I live in the Rose Garden. I used to live just down the street in Midtown. I work in downtown San Jose and have done so for about 15 years. And it's always amazed me that it's taken this long for this corner to see a project like this. This is a thoughtful design that will activate the entrance to downtown. Personally, I'm super excited for the retail aspect. I love that it was designed by a local architect. And I think this is exactly what San Jose needs as we do take the next step, as we look to build much needed housing for the talent that we have here. And we look to do so in a thoughtful manner that utilizes the local public transit, Caltrain, and also builds near the amenities. I mean, it's amazing to me that it's taken so long for this corner right next to SAP to be activated in this manner. So just wanted to voice my support and think that this is a great project that fits the corner.
Thank you, Kevin. Next up is Lalo Mendoza. You're unmuted.
Hi, folks. Good evening. My name is Lalo Mendoza. I work for Catalyzed SV, and I'm also a resident of downtown San Jose. I am very excited personally just to see that this project, just to echo a lot of the comments that have already been said, is going to be bringing so many homes to an area which desperately need them. So I'm here to show my support for the project and to share that our members scored it back in December of 2021. Unfortunately, the applicant was not present, yet our members really wanted to provide feedback. And so I'm here to share some of the feedback that our members wanted to see. First, we wanted to see expanded community engagement, and prioritize feedback. And we understand that we want to get things built, but certainly we don't want to forget about engaging community organizations. Second, the project is so close to the Diridon station that our members want to see lower parking ratios and take advantage of the proximity to just, take advantage of all the public transit options. So that's a huge plus of the project. And third, 7,600 square feet of retail are definitely sufficient, but our members believe that it's not enough. This is an opportunity to, contribute to this transit-oriented development and provide perhaps a retailer that can serve the needs of the residents. So those are the comments that our members wanted to see, but I do have a couple of questions, hopefully for the applicant. And I'm wondering how the project is meeting the inclusive housing ordinance, and also what is the parking design and ratio looking like? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you, Lalo. I think, John, do you want to have questions afterwards?
Yeah, we can do it at the end.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll come back to those questions, Lalo. Next up is Catherine Hedges. Catherine, you are unmuted.
Good evening, and I'd like to echo the other comments by people from catalyzed SV. I already submitted a written statement. I just wanted to show up in person and say that I'm glad that there's a project going up near Diridon, but because we're so close to Diridon, it definitely needs to have less parking on site. And if there's been a redesign, I apologize, but it seemed like there wasn't enough bicycle parking either for visitors to the site or for residents. And we all thought the architecture looked like Las Vegas. I don't know if it's still going to be the same. It didn't seem like a good fit for the area. But my biggest concerns are affordable housing instead of on-site, instead of paying the in-lieu fee, because people in affordable housing also need proximity to transit. And you can argue it's even more important for them because they can't always afford to get an electric car, and they might not want to maintain an older gas car. And also it seemed like this is not a catalyzed SV point, but I remember it came up that some of there were amenities on site that were going to be just for tenants, even though they looked like they would be accessible to the public. And it would be nice if the space could be a community hub and have community gathering spaces instead of just being a members only kind of resort, was the impression we had. But overall, I'm glad that a project like this is being built in this location. If you're getting pushback from the neighborhood, time goes on, this is going to be a major West Coast transit hub, and it needs to have housing nearby, and you're going to build up instead of sideways. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, we'll go to Helen Chapman. Helen, you are unmuted.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm a former president of the Shasta-Hanchett Park Neighborhood Association and a longtime resident. I'm actually very excited to see so much ground floor activity, especially centering around food, because this will bring people and it will activate the space, and it will give a sense of safety to the neighborhood. Whereas I think we get a lot of comments that people don't like to walk downtown because the space isn't activated and you feel unsafe, and then the homeless are there, and that we want to make sure that space is active as possible. So I know you were looking for direct feedback on that space, so that is very nice to see. I echo Lara Winter's comments. I haven't seen that in a very long time. It is an appropriate place to put density, as it is next to Diridon Station. And I would like just to throw in a couple cents to make sure that Cahill Park gets due funding that it's due. It's been waiting a very long time to get that completed. And again, and to echo Ed Som's comments about the other parks in the area, because it would only make this project better to have a strict ring of parks around it and a walkable path to that. So that way it all becomes directly enforced into the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Next up, we have Catalyzed SV. Catalyzed SV, you are unmuted.
Hey, sorry for the lack of clarity. This is Alex Shore, Executive Director of Catalyzed SV, giving comments today. Wanted to thank all the folks who've come out to talk about the project here tonight. I'm so glad that the developer is talking to neighbors like Edward, Helen, and Laura. Such a crucial site for our city, and I care so deeply about what gets built there. I also care because I live a block or two away. But regardless, our members really are interested in this site. We actually, Laura, it has gone through another iteration. So this is a different version of the project than what our members scored back in December. So we're excited to learn about some more details, excited that they're pursuing a LEED Gold, I think is what was said, as well as this food court concept that is more fully fleshed out than what we talked about when our members scored it. We do want to see the developer continue to do better community engagement, reaching out to organizations like unions, like neighborhood associations, like Catalyzed SV to get opinions. We think the project is getting better as you're going forward, and we're glad to see that very, very much. But we do think the community engagement needs to be a crucial piece. This developer has chosen to ignore Catalyzed SV's feedback up to this point and not engage with us. And we think that that's a mistake and a bad precedent. So we encourage developers in the city to put community engagement front and center, not just with the folks like me who happen to live nearby, but with people across the community and the region who care about good development and see important priorities like Catherine Hedges mentioned around affordability that helps address not just neighborhood issues, but regional issues. So we would like to continue to see this project make improvements based on community feedback, and would love to understand a little bit more about the community engagement process. So a formal question to both the city and the applicant. What is your community engagement process going forward as you move this project along? I'll stop there.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so up next we have Gino de Bernardo. Gino, you are unmuted. Gino, can you hear us?
There we go. I think you now.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. I had to click one extra button. I think most of the comments that I have already been said to some extent. I really like the design. I've had my eye on this lot for, I don't know, ever since I've been in San Jose. So my name is Gino. I'm Vice President with Comerica Bank. I'm on the board of the Downtown Association as well as Little Italy. I'm also heavily involved in the community at St. Leo's and that whole Ray Street area. And so Urban Catalyst has reached out to me on a number of occasions to take a look at the layout, the visuals, just to kind of get my general impression. So to the extent that they haven't engaged the community, I've been engaged on multiple occasions. So I provided feedback as well, and I believe a number of things from my suggestions have been actually heard by the firm. So I don't quite share that same sentiment that they haven't reached out and are not listening. I think they are. I really like the how they're going for the LEED Gold, kind of the standard for downtown. We want to make sure we're all moving in that right direction. Ground floor engagement, I think safety and kind of the amenities that they're offering is exactly what this corner needs. The parking space allocation, I think that's right on. we definitely want to encourage, as somebody who has got to work in Palo Alto for a few days a week, I want, if somebody's going to be there, that they're more encouraged. We're attracting the type of people that are not going to be required to have that parking, and they're going to be encouraged. They're going to want to use transit. That's exactly, I believe, the goal of downtown and that specific areas to be transit oriented. So I think they hit that right on the head. And I just enjoy, I think that this is the type of quality that we want to see in downtown. I think there's been a lot of kind of square gray buildings that don't fit the mold of the value that is San Jose. And I think what they're presenting here represents that Class A look that we want, especially since it's highly visible from the highway, it's highly visible from Caltran, it's highly visible from planes coming overhead. It's exactly what I want to see when I'm going into that neighborhood, either from downtown to the St. Leo's area or from the St. Leo's area going downtown. All the out-of-town visitors who are visiting and going to Sharks games, I think this is the type of diamond that we want to see on the corner. And so I think there's a few bits of feedback that I can provide that I'll do in an email to the firm. But otherwise, if we're talking broad strokes here, I think they nailed it on the head and they hit it out of the park with this.
Thank you, Gino. John, that's it for speakers.
All right, is there any other speakers before we start responding to questions?
Yep, Dennis Leonard. We got one more. Dennis, you're unmuted.
I should be unmuted now.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Dennis Leonard. I live in the Shasta Henshet neighborhood. My business is in downtown. This location is in between those 2 points of interest, so it means a lot to me. I shop at Whole Foods all the time. I actually use that car wash quite a bit of time. Love those guys, but that space is definitely underutilized. Been in San Jose for a while, and I think we need not just affordable housing, but more housing in general. Scarcity drives prices up, so having a lot more units be available is a good thing for people who want to live and work in the Bay Area and the Silicon Valley area. And the fees help with affordable housing and other park-related uses, all good stuff for people who live in this area. I love that this makes the area more walkable, scooterable. It's a better utilization and will bring a better utilization to our existing public transit system, which in my opinion is underutilized. This project will do a great job of filling in underutilized downtown space. It deserves a feather in its cap for avoiding urban sprawl. We're never going to be a vertical city just because the San Jose airport. But I like the size and the look of this project. I think it's consistent with what I'll call Googleization of this area of downtown, which I think we should embrace. I mean, San Jose is the heart of Silicon Valley, and I think this project embraces that reality. I'd also like to say on a more personal level that, when I moved to San Jose in 2004, it was a new city to me. I didn't know it very well, but one of the things I liked about the Alameda specifically was that it created a vision of a walkable city, the kind of street that you could walk down. And it wasn't exactly like that back in 2004, but with the addition of that Whole Foods and developments like this, I feel like it will attract more restaurants and businesses and the kinds of things that people who live and work in this area have been wanting to see for many years, and it's coming slowly but surely. So this is all good stuff for the area, all good stuff for San Jose. I would very much like to see more people on the sidewalks who live and work in the area are invested in seeing this be a wonderful place to live. And I welcome the project because I think it'll help move the ball forward in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. Matt, do you want to discuss the question about the parking ratio and inclusional housing approach?
Yeah. So our parking ratio, we're currently zoned for a 1-to-1 ratio, seeing as we're in downtown zoning. But we're targeting a parking ratio between 0.75 and 0.8. We're currently sitting at about 0.76, and we feel that adequately parks the building while still encouraging public transit. One thing we don't want to do is underpark this and then have people parking along the street or parking in the Whole Foods parking lot and when their guests visit. So that takes care of parking ratio. And then, sorry, what was your second question?
The question from Leo about how the housing inclusion is being met.
Yeah, so currently we're proposing 5% of our units go to those with very low income. And then we're also looking at making a payment of roughly $3.5 million in affordable housing fees. That's what we have projected.
Yeah. So just be aware they're currently still working on their housing agreement with the department, with the housing department. So that's still in process, but they are subject to the inclusionary fee ordinance. I think there was one other question about community engagement from Alex Shore. So the city was always present for the applicant to reach out to the various development partners and to engage. We accept comments from different departments, and we always forward those to the applicants to have those discussions. So to the extent given, the size of the project and being in downtown, we want the public in general to engage and reach out to various different groups.
John, could I speak to that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to reiterate too, in addition to the city process, Urban Catalyst believes it's important that we reach out and talk to neighbors. We are a neighbor, the owner of the site. We see as very important that we all get along, and in particular, we encourage collaborative dialogue where we can bring great projects to completion. So whether it's with unions or other super neighborhood groups, in particular, we look for a lot of collaboration. So while we can't always do everything that somebody's looking for, Mr. Shore referred to lack of engagement, just like it wasn't, we had communicated that we were going to be doing that later on. And so we've been doing additional outreach to those that have been looking for a collaborative approach, and we will continue to do so.
Okay. Alex, I think we have one more speaker who wants to speak. We have about 8 more minutes, but before we get to the other speaker, Matt or Paul, was there anything else you guys want to speak on to any of the comments you heard that weren't specifically questions?
Going through my notes here, I think we touched on IHO, parking. Outreach.
I think there was a question on bicycle parking.
Yeah, thanks.
So I can answer that. So we are required to provide 121 bike stalls. This project is, right now we're currently slated to provide 184. That's 144 long-term storage spaces for the residents and 40 street stalls for the community and retail patrons.
Also another, Mr. Mendez talked about parking ratios, square footage of retail, and just want to, urban infill sites are what we're passionate about. They're very complicated engineering, program communications, program conditions at that first floor. How do you engage public spaces? How do you create the right back of office spots for the retail and for the residential lobby? So the sizing was given a lot of considerations as to how tenants can be successful in that space, how it engages with the public, as you can see in the renderings and the dialogue that Afsha described. So we think this is the right balance for the site here. Moving one aspect of more, it affects the parking, it affects the actual just infrastructure, elevator cores, and a lot of other things on a site like this. But we're excited about what the program we have right now.
All right, we have one hand up, but maybe the last comment. Ricardo Carrasco, you gonna mute yourself?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just wondering, if if they take us in consideration of, hiring our youth straight out of high school, that helps our community out, and our returning vets, it's a very important thing. And, well-trained people to dish out this project, this real nice project that's being shown in front of me. And I just want them to take our unions into consideration and have our local people work here, because we live here, we want to work here. And also, it also benefits, when they do pay the healthcare and all that. So when they get sick or something, the workers that they bring from out of state, they don't go to Valley Medical and bring up our bill. Else, as taxpayers that live here, pay that cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, if you can bring back our slide.
Give me a second, hold on.
No problem. So this concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you all for joining us and providing us your comments and feedback. This recording of this meeting will be made available on the project by next week. Just be aware that this isn't the only opportunity to provide your comments. We'll continue this engagement and discussion as the project moves forward. When exiting this meeting, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey. The survey will automatically open when this meeting ends. Please don't exit your browser. This survey will help us improve our vital meetings in the future. I appreciate your time. Hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all.